Hello, everyone. Overnight, the Sino-Japanese diplomatic war of words has escalated dramatically. One might even say it has entered a state of full-blown eruption. At the same time, the propaganda war across the Taiwan Strait has also intensified abruptly, with the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, unusually resorting to the public issuance of arrest warrants for Taiwanese legislators and civilian internet influencers, triggering shockwaves in public opinion on both sides of the strait. Relations between the two sides of the strait and between China and Japan have, almost instantaneously, escalated to an unprecedented new height. What is going on here? Is the CCP truly prepared to sever diplomatic ties with Japan? And at the eye of this storm, the CCP's consul general in Osaka, Jian, has suddenly exhibited an extremely abnormal phenomenon at this critical juncture. What signal does this send? Australia's Yang Lan is indeed formidable. Yesterday, her case went to court again, and once more she failed to appear. Moreover, her lawyer brazenly arrived a full 45 minutes late, and upon arrival, categorically denied all charges, pleading not guilty across the board. What card does this lawyer hold to be so confident? Today is November 14th, Eastern Time. I am Tang Jingyuan. Welcome to subscribe to our channel. You will not only know what happened, but also why it happened. In the past 2 days, the notion of blood replacement for rejuvenation has suddenly gained traction, with numerous celebrities even suspected of being involved. Is this claim a scientific achievement or a folk sorcery? How does medicine actually view it? These issues are complex and cannot be clarified in a few sentences. I plan to produce a special program tomorrow to systematically sort through these hot topics with everyone. Friends are welcome to stay tuned and share. Today, let us first address the intensifying Sino-Japanese diplomatic storm. Ever since Sanai Takaichi explicitly stated in Parliament that a Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency, a post by CCP Consul General in Osaka, Jian, calling for beheading Takaichi, ignited the fuse of this Sino-Japanese conflict. To date, Japan is naturally outraged, with calls to expel Jian growing louder by the wave. On the CCP side, it has adopted offense as defense, suddenly escalating personal attacks, even a siege against Sanai Takaichi. The latest round of offensive and defensive exchanges saw the CCP first escalate to the ambassadorial level. Late last night, CCP Vice Foreign Minister Sun Weidong, acting on instructions, summoned Japanese ambassador to China Kenji Kanasuji, claiming to lodge a solemn representation over Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi's erroneous remarks concerning China. What was the basis of the representation? It stated that Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi recently made provocative remarks on Taiwan during parliamentary responses, implying possible military intervention in Taiwan Strait issues, to which the Chinese side expressed strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition, lodging a solemn representation and strong protest with the Japanese side, and urging the Japanese side to immediately reflect and correct its errors and retract its malicious remarks. In the official communiqué, harsh phrases such as dealing a head-on blow were employed. Japan, which has traditionally been more conciliatory, this time responded without hesitation and immediately returned the favor. This afternoon, Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs Administrative Vice Minister Takahiro Funakoshi, equivalent to a Vice Foreign Minister, summoned CCP Ambassador to Japan Wu Jianghao, once again lodging a strong protest over Jian and demanding that the Chinese side take appropriate measures. Although Wu Jianghao expressed the Chinese position, Funakoshi rebutted it based on the consistent Japanese government stance. On the same day, Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi stated at a press conference that regarding under what circumstances a situation would be recognized as a survival-threatening crisis, thereby triggering relevant measures, the Japanese government's explanations during past deliberations were extremely clear, violated no international law, and the relevant bills were passed after full deliberation in Parliament. The Chinese side's assertions do not accord with the facts, so the Japanese side has no need whatsoever to retract them. Furthermore, regarding Jian's beheading remarks, Motegi stated that Japan will continue to strongly demand that the Chinese side take appropriate measures to avoid affecting the overall direction of Japan-China relations. As for external concerns about designating Jian as a persona non grata and expelling him, Motegi noted that the Japanese government has on 4 occasions designated resident diplomats as persona non grata, but did not indicate whether Jian would be subject to this. Japan's firmness this time clearly exceeded the CCP's expectations. As a result, today CCP ambassador to Japan Wu Jian, also acting on instructions, requested a meeting with Japanese Administrative Vice Minister Takahiro Funakoshi, lodging a so-called solemn representation, strongly urging the Japanese side to retract its malicious remarks, or else bear all consequences. Wu Jian similarly employed the formulation that if Japan intervenes in the Taiwan Strait, the Chinese side will surely deal a head-on blow. The CCP diplomatic system used the term acting on instructions twice. What does this signify? In diplomatic parlance, the use of acting on instructions is relatively rare and is generally employed only in matters involving major principles or national interests. Its straightforward meaning is that the diplomat complies with superior instructions to proactively summon subordinates or relevant personnel for a meeting. The use of this term often conveys several layers of signaling. 1. Acting on instructions indicates that it is not a personal decision by a given diplomat, but is directly authorized by superiors, possibly even from the highest decision-making level, representing the will of the state. 2. Such phrasing often implies no room for negotiation and an uncompromising stance, akin to a diplomatic yellow card warning. 3. Such wording often foreshadows subsequent substantive measures, such as postponing major dialogues or imposing diplomatic sanctions. At the same time, we observe that official CCP public opinion has correspondingly heated up. Frontline party media such as People's Daily and Xinhua have begun publishing articles fiercely criticizing Sinai Takaichi. Loudspeakers like who Xi Jian are hopping about. The Ministry of National Defense threatens to make Japan bleed from the head. The Foreign Ministry today issued a pompous announcement claiming that public security in Japanese society is poor, with multiple incidents of Chinese citizens in Japan being assaulted, and therefore solemnly reminds Chinese citizens to avoid travel to Japan in the near term. Amusingly, as soon as this notice was issued, it triggered jubilation among Japanese netizens, who enthusiastically forwarded it en masse. Large numbers of netizens even left comments saying not just in the near term, but long term, preferably never come at all. Why? The reason is simple. In recent years, massive numbers of Chinese tourists to Japan, like those who previously flocked to Europe and the United States, have disregarded local public morals and order, engaging in all manner of wanton destruction and low-quality harassment and pollution, long causing headaches and deep resentment in Japanese society. Now that the CCP itself demands that they not go to Japan, Japanese society could not ask for more. They're delighted to enjoy peace and quiet, out of sight, out of mind. Of course, when it comes to the pinnacle of the Sino-Japanese diplomatic war of words, nothing surpasses the article published 2 days ago by CCTV's social media alter ego Yuan in Heaven, which in uniquely shrewish, street-brawling style hurled abuse at Sinai Takaichi, calling her brain kicked by a donkey, mouth spewing feces, and so on. A frontline party medium stooped to the level of 50-cent comment sections, leaving netizens on both sides dumbfounded. I have repeatedly told everyone, on the Taiwan issue, whether it is Xi Jinping or Zhang Jinping or Wang Jinping, it makes no major difference, because the Taiwan issue directly touches the legitimacy of the CCP's survival. It is the CCP's most painful fatal weakness. Whoever pokes, it will cause the CCP bone-deep agony. Therefore, whenever we see frontline party media resorting to such vulgar language to attack the other side, it signifies only one thing. The opponent's move has precisely struck the CCP's sore spot, prompting this claws-bearing reaction, equivalent to the stepping on a dog's tail effect. Even more comically, informed netizens have revealed that the Yuan in Heaven reporter had just returned from a shopping trip to Japan. This plot is truly melodramatic. On the CCP side, inside the Big Pants building, they talk about Takaichi, listening to a chorus of abuse, with major social media platforms frantically whitewashing. But one key piece of information that many may have overlooked is that the original instigator, Jian, has suddenly gone silent on the X platform. From November 10th until today, he has completely ceased updates. Not a single post, whereas previously he forwarded at least dozens of posts daily. What does this indicate? Let's first examine the situation on the Japanese side. Japan's latest action is action, not mere rhetoric. The LDP's diplomatic subgroup and diplomatic investigation committee today compiled an opinion paper regarding Jian's behead Takaichi remarks, requiring relevant party personnel to refrain from attending events hosted by the Osaka Consulate General, and this will soon be notified tonight via Policy Research Council Chairman Takao Kobayashi. Previously, the CCP Consulate General in Osaka planned a China-Japan friendship event in Hiroshima Prefecture on the 21st of this month. The second important piece of information is that Japanese media released the latest public opinion poll from a political discussion program, with shocking results. Despite the CCP exerting tremendous propaganda pressure, Sanai Takaichi's approval rating has not fallen but risen, with a staggering 83% of Japanese citizens approving that Japan should actively intervene militarily in the event of a Taiwan contingency. This figure was only 70% in August of this year, a surge of 13 percentage points in just 3 months. Only 9% oppose, with 8% choosing not to state a position. We can only say that this time the CCP has truly met a tough opponent and kicked an iron plate. Such a high approval rate indicates that the overall Japanese national mentality toward the CCP has completely reversed. Under such intense public sentiment, Sanai Takaichi will only become tougher. Thus, a major question becomes unavoidable. Is the CCP truly prepared to tear its face with Japan, decouple, or even sever diplomatic ties? To discuss this issue, we must first clarify a key point. This Sino-Japanese diplomatic storm is actually each side talking past the other. They're not focused on the same point. We can see that from beginning to end, the Japanese side has focused on Jian's beheading remarks, which is unquestionably a massive error at the CCP diplomatic level. Regardless of how dissatisfied the CCP is with Sanai Takaichi's remarks, they pertain to governmental policy statements. Even if dissatisfied, the CCP should express it through formal diplomatic channels. A diplomat personally issuing beheading-type terrorist rhetoric is a completely different matter in nature. Thus, in the past 2 days, the CCP siege of Sanai Takaichi mentions not a word about Jian, fixating solely on pursuing and attacking Takaichi's policy explanations. In other words, Japan focuses on a major personal diplomatic etiquette error by a CCP diplomat, while the CCP focuses on national policy. Regarding the former, the CCP cannot utter any tough words because Jian's remarks violate recognized international diplomatic red lines and are indefensible. Why has Jian suddenly gone silent on X? Clearly, he has been restricted from speaking. It is even possible he has already been internally disciplined to avoid further irritating the Japanese side. This can already be considered a relatively subtle concession. Regarding the latter, one can only say that Japan's policy toward Taiwan and China has changed. This is Japan's internal affair. Whether the CCP is pleased or displeased, it has no standing. Whom Japan chooses to support is Japan's right. Even establishing diplomatic relations with Taiwan would be Japan's sovereign choice. If the CCP has the guts, sever ties and be done with it. Spewing abuse serves only to make the CCP appear particularly foolish, with no other effect. Why do we say the CCP appears foolish? Consider this. The CCP Foreign Ministry itself claims this year marks the 80th anniversary of Taiwan's retrocession, brooking no foreign interference in internal affairs, etc. Who retroceded Taiwan 80 years ago? Was it not the Republic of China? Where is the Republic of China now? Is it not in Taiwan? In other words, Sanai Takaichi's statement that she would use military force to protect Taiwan is precisely protecting the fruits of Taiwan's retrocession, protecting the Republic of China. Japan has gone from invading the Republic of China in the past to protecting the Republic of China today. Does this not precisely demonstrate that Japan has thoroughly corrected its errors and should receive praise and affirmation from the international community? When the CCP Foreign Ministry vehemently denounces Japan's past attacks on the Republic of China as aggression, does it not precisely prove that its own attacks on the Republic of China are likewise outright aggression? This is why we say the CCP appears particularly foolish. Why has the CCP suddenly escalated its siege of Decapitation? I believe there are likely two reasons. One, the CCP has had to concede on the Jian issue, but must save face because conceding to Japan is the most painful thing for the CCP, so it needs to go on the offensive to regain face on Sinai Decapitation. Two, the CCP faces severe political and economic crises and is conveniently using this incident to divert domestic contradictions. Everyone goes to curse Japan, and no one curses the CCP. This includes the florid showmanship of issuing arrest warrants for Taiwanese legislator Shin Boyong, internet influencer Minan Wolf Chunbun, etc. All for this purpose, to display, I am very tough, I am not soft, but in fact precisely revealing the CCP's lack of confidence. From this perspective, I still believe the likelihood of substantive hostile actions between China and Japan, such as expelling diplomats or imposing economic sanctions, remains relatively low. Everyone may have seen the news. Yesterday, upon returning to the White House, Trump for the first time approved the sale to Taiwan of $330 million for 129 million Singapore dollars in fighter jet components to maintain the combat readiness of Taiwan's F-16s, C-130s, and other aircraft, enhancing Taiwan's ability to address current and future threats. This carries a coincidental flavor, neither too early nor too late. Trump has given Taiwan and Japan a shot in the arm, and today the CCP can only steel itself and, frothing in the mouth, repeat the same tired lines, sending a seriously erroneous signal to Taiwan independence separatist forces, to which we express strong dissatisfaction and firm opposition. Thus, the more ferociously the CCP continues, the more is exactly what Decapitation and Trump most welcome. The CCP is essentially handing them the knife, handing Taiwan the knife. All right, there is still a bit of time. Let us briefly discuss Yang Lanlan. This morning Australian local time, the Yang Lanlan case held its fourth hearing at the Downing Centre local court in Sydney. Once again, Yang Lanlan continued to be absent, and it was not until 45 minutes later, as the hearing neared its conclusion, that her defense counsel Michael Korn arrived on the scene. The lawyer stated in court on her behalf that she pleads not guilty to all charges. Moreover, the defense requested the judge to permit Yang Lanlan to be absent from the next hearing, which ultimately received judicial approval. Because Yang Lanlan pleaded not guilty to the charges, the court required that evidentiary materials be delivered to the defense by January 9th next year for preparation of its response. The fifth hearing is scheduled for January 30th next year. Upon release of the news, public opinion was in an uproar, as no one expected the lawyer to be so forceful. What card or confidence does he hold? Yang Lanlan's lawyer, John Korn, is a super lawyer with over 40 years of criminal defense experience, repeatedly listed among Sydney's leading criminal defense lawyers and most influential lawyers. In 2017, Chinese celebrity Gao Yunxiang was accused in Sydney of sexually assaulting a 36-year-old Chinese-Australian television producer, once detonating online public opinion. The lead defense counsel hired by Gao Yunxiang was none other than this Korn, and after 2 years of litigation, Korn ultimately secured Gao Yunxiang's acquittal. The process in between cannot be succinctly described, but at the very least it demonstrates that this lawyer is no ordinary figure. From the fact that Yang Lanlan has been able to refuse to appear in court for 5 consecutive hearings, with time being dragged out step by step, it is clear that Yang Lanlan is primarily playing a delay strategy. On one hand, delaying until the public completely loses interest and the controversy cools entirely. On the other, using this to emphasize Yang Lamlin's psychological issues. Let us not forget that prior media reports have already mentioned this, stating she has severe mental health problems. This is likely all pre-planted foreshadowing. The judge has consistently permitted Yang Lamlin's absence from court, including the lawyer's forceful denial of all charges, likely all related to this point. Therefore, as time passes, I believe the probability that Yang Lanlan will ultimately be found not guilty or receive only a minor penalty not requiring incarceration grows ever higher. The longer the delay, the greater the space for the Yang Lanlan family's influence to be exerted. There is virtually no doubt about this.